What's up, guys? We're gonna bro beats. Today I'm gonna be giving you guys a complex 808 guide. If you guys haven't subbed already or turned post notice on, make sure you do so because it does help out a lot. So let's hop right into it. So I'm gonna do this in sectors so that it's easy to digest, because if we just go all the way throughout the video, some topics may bleed into others and it may start to get confusing. So I'm gonna do it we're gonna do it from scratch all the way until we get to like all the advanced stuff. So the first one we're gonna do is the actual setup of the 808. So for the setup, all we need to do is right click and make sure it's on cut itself. So what this is going to do is make sure it doesn't bleed to the next one. So if you play your 808, if you have it like really close, like the notes really close together, it might like overlap and it might sound really muddy. So that this is going to get rid of that. So make sure it's cut itself. All right. And then you want to click here on the actual 808, go to this envelope setting, turn it on. And what you can do is turn all the knobs down except hold. And what this is going to do is let you control the 808 like so. All right, so that is the setup. So now let's move on to the pitch. All right, so now we have everything set up. So now let's go ahead and find the key. Now there is a new way to do it. The Edison way is just way too old school. It messes up the workflow. I don't even like doing it because you got to click so much stuff. So what you got to do is go to sample settings. Now, once you're here, you right click in here, the same as you would do with Edison. Now, instead of going to audio editor, you want to go to pitch corrector. Now, I do not own this plugin, but you can still use it. All right. And you can save it in your project if you want to. They say, you're not going to be able to, but you can. So what you want to do from here is, I guess, if you already know the notes, like I know this is an F sharp, but if you already know the notes, then this is easy. You just look at this, close it. But if you don't know the notes, what you can do, and let me drag this in so we can see it a lot better. All you have to do is double click. Okay, now it's going to do that, but what you can do is just drag it and it'll tell you the notes. Okay, so it's a C and it's going to tell you the octave and everything. And if we drag this in, if you have a pitch bend 808, what you could do, same thing, and it's going to say F sharp. All right, and that's the easiest way to do it. Now I turn my volume down because I don't want the 808 playing while I'm explaining. But if you have an 808 like mine and it has a pitch bend and you're not sure like which one to choose, you could do trial and error. But from my experience, the best way to do it is just use the longest note. So you see this C is the longest note in this 808. So I'm going to use that as the key I'm going to pitch it to. All right, so that is how you find the key. Now we need to find the bass line. So with the bass line, it's pretty easy. If you have chords or if you made your melody with chords or anything, it should have a bass line somewhat. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is go into my guitar, and it's a lot of notes, right? Now usually some people, they might have their stuff like, look like chords, but mine is not like that. So what you want to do is find the lowest note from the start. So as you can see, the start is like right here. And then right here, and then you got one here highlighted, and then you got one here highlighted. So the lowest note would be these. Oh. Okay, and let me zoom in some more. Those are my lowest notes. Now this doesn't 100% work every single time, but I would say 90% of the time this is going to be correct. Okay, so that's how you find the bass line. Now what you want to do is Control C, or I guess Command C on Mac. And then go into your 808, right click, piano roll, paste it. Okay, so that's how you find the bass line. Now we're gonna get into actually placing these 808s. So now what we need to do is transpose. So there's a light transpose, which is not actually transposing, it's just moving it up an octave. So what we would do is that first. So what we can do is just highlight everything. And you can press Control A to highlight everything, or Control up. Like so. You can see this is way too low. So if we transpose it up or just move it up an octave, it'll sound a lot better. Okay, so if this note is too low to you, there's two things you can do. You can move this up. Okay, which I like. But let's say we moved it back down. What you could do is transpose your whole entire song or your melody. So you could go up here to this knob up here, if you see it, and you can click transpose. All right, or you could do it this way, because if you do it this way, it's going to transpose your drums too, and you probably don't want to do that. So what you can do here is just highlight everything. As you can see, you can just highlight, you could double click one and it'll highlight everything here, and then right click on channel options, go to transpose selected, and now it will only transpose the ones that you selected. So we can go like 2 and it'll end up on the F. Okay, so you can see now, move this out the way. Okay, you can see the 808 is a lot more clear. But if you want to go back down, now I'm gonna use the other way to do this, but if you want to do it this way, just go transpose. But if you want to move it back down, you have to put a negative sign like so. -2, it's gonna move it down 2 notes. Okay, and I'm gonna move my note back up here. So that's how you transpose. All right, and let's move on to the next one. All right, so now we're gonna do the rhythm. Now this is really, really easy, okay? But a lot of people don't really know this little, I guess, trick or tip. So how to find the rhythm, and the reason we're trying to find the rhythm is because most people, they come here and they just do, they just do some random stuff that they probably did on the last beat. But you don't necessarily want to do that. The easiest way to find the rhythm is, as you can see, I put everything on the grid, is you can move it here or here. This will give you like, and it's pretty much in your opinion, but there is like a better one. There's going to be an obvious better one. So if I move it here, it doesn't sound bad, but to me, I think that comes in way too fast. It needs to come in a little later. So this is up to you. You can kind of trial and error it. So it's either this one or this one. All right, and I feel like now with this pattern, everything just kind of meshes well together. Like there's space for like the melody to breathe, and there's space for the 808, right? And on this one, I feel like it just kind of it just came in too early. So that's just me. Some people might like it here, but I feel like this is the correct rhythm, I guess, to put on this melody. All right, so that's pretty much the easiest way to find like the rhythm that you need. So now let's move on to the next one. All right, so now we're gonna do placement. So the first thing we want to do is, you see our grid is like kind of small. I think it's like 1/4. Yeah. So what I like to do is put it to 1/2 a beat, right? And that's gonna give us every spot where we could place the 808, and it's very simple to look at. So let's highlight everything, Control A, and then what we can do is put it in these 808 spots. So I'm gonna just show you them, because there's no like set guide, but these are like the most common areas. If you want bounce in your beats, these are the most common areas that you want to put them. All right. So you see we have these in these areas. So what you want to do is, obviously you could delete this one, and then we delete this one. So the places where you don't really want to put it on the grid, and on the grid is pretty much just like where this 2 is and this 3 or 4. So like right here and right here, you don't want it on the grid like this, because it's gonna mess up your rhythm, and it's gonna mess up the bounce and everything. It's just gonna sound weird. But you can do that, but it has to be, you have to plan for it. So I know some people are like, well, you said don't place a note here. Well, if you look in the background, you can see my chords, or like my melody, but these were chords. This note is in harmony with that melody, and these chords, right, they don't start here. So that's why it sounds a little bit better when we place the G sharp over here, because it's in harmony with the melody when it plays over here. So if I were to play it over here, it would play a little too early, and that's why I said it sounded like it came in too early. All right, and it doesn't sound bad. I'm not saying it sounds bad, but I just think for bounce in the beat, you want it like this, or however your melody is made. You want to kind of keep it in harmony as much as possible. Okay, and then obviously you could take stuff out later, but what we're gonna do is just keep going. So let's highlight everyone except our originals. So the copies, I'm gonna just make them a little shorter so we can tell, and then turn them down because they're gonna be way too loud. So now what you can do is you can either move them over like this, and then you can kind of choose which spot that you want them. So I'll just play it. Okay, and then you can delete some that you don't like, and this is just how you can build it without knowing the patterns already. And then you can move them over here. Again, remember I said in these parts, you want to delete the ones on the grid, which is right on the number. So we delete those, and then you'll have your bounce back. Okay, and then obviously, if you want to, you can keep going. You can choose specific notes. You do one here, one. Well, we don't really need to do one there. And you can move it over again. All right, and obviously it's gonna play throughout. So what I'm gonna do now is just delete some. So I'm gonna just listen to it and just delete a few. All right, so that is going to be our placement for this one. Yours may look a little different. And now we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, so now we're going to go over tempo. Now, if you want your 808 pattern to look like this, now I'm going to just reset this real quick. So if yours looks like this right now, what you can do is highlight it, or you can press Control A to highlight everything. Press Control Q to quantize it to your grid, and then press Control L to make sure everything goes to the end. All right. So one thing real quick I want to talk about is the tempo. Now, the slower your tempo, the more notes you can put in. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to do this, right? But it's just like a little tip. Like if you feel like your stuff is too much going on. So the higher I go, you'll see that it sounds like way too much is going on. But the slower it is, slower the beat is, it's like it gives me a lot more room to put more notes. Right, so you see this distance to the next note, it's a lot longer, so it doesn't seem as bad. But the higher you go, all right, that's just something to think about as well. So you can kind of use that info and kind of decide where you want to place your 808s and stuff. All right, so now we're gonna go over some tricks like reverses, cuts, chops, slides. All right, and then my next video will be on how to combine those and just show you some combos that you can use to create some really unique tricks for your 808. All right, so first things first, let's go over the octave jumps. And I'm not sure if that's actually what it is called, but I just call it that. So first things first is where to place them. So usually I put my like jumps, and what I mean by jump is like something like this, where you just pull it up an octave. I usually put them towards the end or in between. So if I change this grid to 1/2 a beat, you'll see like on the grid will be somewhat like this, right? In these areas. And if you go in between these, that's kind of where I like to put those jumps. Okay. Let's highlight this. So like somewhere right here, do one here. And you don't necessarily have to put it there every time. It's just kind of like a guide to where you could put it. Put one here, and then we can even do another one. So let's pull those up. Play from the top. All right, so those are the octave jumps. You can mess around with that. You can even put them lower. They don't have to go high all the time. All right, so you can even do like just a quick one. We could do something like this. Right, so it doesn't have to go high, you could go low too. So from there, what we're gonna do is add slides. Now, how to add a slide is you click this ramp, boom. All right, now how these work real quick is the longer that this slide note is, right, the slower the effect is, or just the longer the effect will last. All right, and I'm gonna just pull this up to show you. Actually, I really don't need to pull it up. I can just use a regular one. So let's go up here, and I'll just kind of push it over so you can hear the effect. right? And then if I pull it in. Now, what you could do with this is when you put your kick in, so say your kick hits right here, you could put the slide on your kick and it'll give you a cool effect. All right. But let's put this one back here. I guess we could keep this one in. I don't really like that note there, but we could keep one in. So now if we go over here, we can do the same thing. We can place one like right here. Now, when you place these, I like to keep them in harmony. So I like to keep them on within my bass line. All right, I don't like to put them like on random parts. And then we could put 2. So let's pull these up an octave and then move them over. And you'll get that kind of like crazy jump that you hear a lot. So I'll play it all the way through. Okay, and then you can go even crazier, pull up another octave. You can pull one down. I'm just keep it there just so you can see. And let's do the cuts and chops. Now with this kind of mixes in with velocity because you got to mess with the velocity when you do like cuts or like the reverse 808s and chops and stuff. So I'm gonna do the chops first because they're a lot easier. And this is where that hold comes in on the envelope, because what you could do is control. So if I chop this one, right, if I chop it like this, you can control how quick the chop is. And if you want to do one here, you can make it quicker, but I usually just keep them basic. Okay, so now we're gonna do the reverse, and I made a video on reverse 808s already, but I'll just put it in just because we're doing chops. So once you chop it, now I usually chop it on the grid going into a note. So you could delete this one and go into that one, or you could just keep it like this, delete it like that. But I usually put my actual reverse going into a note. Okay, I just don't place it wherever. So what you can do is chop it. You can chop it like that or like this, whichever one sounds fine to you. I don't know, but I'll just do this one just because it's already here. And I kind of you got to mess with the velocity a bit to get it right. All right, and keep in mind your 808 that you use kind of will affect the way that this works. All right, my 808 has like some distortion, so you'll hear like that kind of like weird roll sound. All right, so there's the reverse. So I'll just play it one more time. All right, so that's gonna be it for this video. That's all that you really need to know for complex 808s. All right, start to finish. Again, my next video will be over how to combine these to create some really cool effects. Yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.